Three. David Wygant, 10-minute daily reality check. We're going to go longer today. This is going to be a longer show because it's a weekend show. And when a weekend show comes up, I want to do something that's going to impact your life and change the way you think. We live in a global economy, a big, gigantic economy, an economy that's run by money, an economy that's run by companies, an economy that's run by news. Back in 2016, I started thinking to myself, I really would like to have some type of new venture. Being a chronic entrepreneur my entire life, I wanted to do something that was different, challenging, being around smart people. Not that coaching people like you aren't smart. I've met some of the greatest people in the world who have coached, but I could coach in my sleep. It's so easy for me. There's no challenge anymore. I know a lot of you come to me and say, oh, David, you've never heard this situation. I have. I've heard it before. I've lived 56 years. I know your issues and your problems. I know why you can't talk to the girl. I know why you can't talk to the man. I know why you're still single at 40. I get all that stuff. I've seen your patterns. I've analyzed your patterns, and I've got you in a box, and I can get you out of that box that I call prison. I needed a new venture. So there was this thing called Bitcoin that everybody was making money in 2017. So, of course, I bought at the peak a little bit of Ethereum. I could care less, that I bought it at the peak. I wasn't – it's funny. It's like I started looking at that, and I started thinking to myself, I don't believe in this bit of a coin. I really don't want to do that. But the stock market is something that was in my family. I wanted to conquer. So as all of you know, I've been doing podcasts and videos teaching you really great ways to learn about the stock market. It's a really important. I wanted something that would never be taken away. I wanted to work in the global economy. I wanted to be around people who were smart and motivated, who had systems in place. Hey, just some of the stuff I've been teaching you all these years. There's a system in place. You just got to work it every single day. So I started doing the stock market probably last January and February. I started learning something called technical analysis, which we're going to go into in a few minutes. I've got Jake from TrendSpider on the line with me, and we're going to go through something that's really interesting. There's a lot of TA that's out there. There's moving averages, there's MACDs, there's trend lines. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why trend lines are important. Now, it's something that I resisted for a long time. I'm kind of a small bar guy, a narrow range bar guy, but I would always wonder why that even though it looked like I had open sky, I was above some of my pivots, why all of a sudden I would get slammed down in the middle of a trade. Because it hit the top of a trend line and decided to go down, and I'm learning all that stuff. So today I got Jake from a new company called TrendSpider. He has opened my eyes to really understanding more about the market, because as each progression comes, as you learn it, and a lot of people look at the stock market and go, that's gambling. It's not gambling. It's called probability. Gambling is gambling. Stock market is probability. You're also working things that other people are looking at. So there's human psychology there. There's algorithms. I've got Thinkorswim up. I don't trade off of it because it's too expensive, the fees, but I've got an algorithm up there. So there's a little arrow that paints, which tells me, all right, that bar is a bar that I can actually get in. It's got nothing to do with moving averages and everything. I just happen to have an algorithm that I paid for. And the algorithm is right pretty much 65 to 70% of the time, which is nice, but you've got to let the stock do its thing. But then again, you still need targets, and that's where TrendSpider comes in. Hey, Jake, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So tell me, man, what, as an entrepreneur, and you're a young entrepreneur, which is fucking awesome, man, and I respect that immensely, right?
Thank you.
What motivated you to do this? Because that's really important, because you're in your 20s, and this is the time that you can build your businesses. This is the time that you can take the chances. You can live in cheap apartments. You could make a decision. You don't, your girlfriend is not as needy as she imagines herself to be. You've got a lot of time and a lot of energy to put in. What stimulated you to do this? Because we live in the electronic age of trading, and trading is not as hard as it used to be, but yet there's the old story about all the people that fail. People fail in trading, as you know, because they think about making money, and the first stage in trading is just break even for a month. Because then you've maxed, because then you've learned how to lose, and then you just have to learn how to let your trades play out, and that's how you start making money. But yet you, being an entrepreneur, you decided to tackle this. What made you tackle this? What made you do this?
So I was lucky enough to be introduced to our founder, Dan, back in June. So this was originally Dan and Russ Land's idea, who's the CTO. They founded this and kind of got the idea about 2 years ago. And the kind of what they were thinking is, I want to automate something that is currently done manually. And so Dan's background, that's kind of what he's always done, is make things more efficient. And technical analysis is really something that is very kind of a manual process up until now. And so as you were mentioning, different stocks act different ways. There's different systems you can follow. And the thing is, you can now, with our system, really automate all of those different systems. Now, obviously, technical analysis is always going to have kind of a discretionary part, especially with trading as well. You're always going to want to confirm things, see it with your own eyes. But what we're trying to do, and what Dan and Russ's vision was to really make the whole process of technical analysis more efficient. And before this, I was kind of on the other side of things, where I was providing charts and different just trade ideas to people. And that's great and all, but kind of, people can really get emotional about their money. They can get very impulsive. They can go in too deep into an account, all types of things. And, it's a lot easier to be on the side of the industry where I'm just providing a tool for traders to use, rather than, possibly posting a chart that somebody, it's all about moods. Somebody could just be in a bad mood that day and just wants, a good feeling for the day. And they may just go in too deep into a trade, and all of a sudden, they blew up their account in no time. So that's never really fun to be on that side of the industry and kind of see people do that. So the reason I joined the team was to really, follow my passion of trading. I've been trading since I was 12 years old, but then also have the ability to give some input into a new software and have the ability to make relationships with people who are some of the best traders and analysts in the market, and then also have the ability to create a new system that no one's ever seen before.
That's funny. That's why I got into, when I started thinking what would be my new venture, because I'm one of those dedicated 12-hour-a-day people. I study charts till 9 o'clock at night. It's like, because the more you study and the more you back test, the more you realize that these patterns actually work. And the more you realize that the patterns actually work, you can sit, it's called chair time. And I really am a big believer in, a really, really big believer in putting in the hours, right? Because technical analysis is just hours. Once you learn, once you enjoy, once you participate, you're able to then truly know that the pattern is going to repeat itself over and over and over again, right? So one thing that I really found that was really interesting is I never did the trend lines, because to me, manually putting them in is moving averages are moving averages. Everybody sees the same thing. Some people make money off the 1 minute, the 2 minute, the 3 minute, the 5, the 10, the 15, the hourly, the daily. There's different points of resistance and support on everything, right? So there's the scalpers on the 1, there's the 5-minute people that just sit there and they're playing the pivots. But the thing is, the trend line is the trend line, and what I never really got was, and this is interesting because you can draw it in. Do you count the wicks? Do you count the body? And the fact of the matter is that when you are trying to help people, and I think this is what's really great, because it's interesting, you wanted to also be around like extremely smart, fun, entrepreneurial people. Everybody I've met in the trading industry is really interesting, to the point, some are very high strung, right? But everybody has that same story of, don't blow, if you can learn from me blowing out my, my account, right? Which I never did, right? But if you can learn from my losses, you'll be successful. And everybody's got that same message. And there's a lot of great chat rooms and stuff out there and a lot of great education. But I've never seen a group of people, except for the marketers that, 3 magical steps, and they don't make any money, but I've never seen a group of people who want to support other people to be successful, because it really is the only industry that 10 million people can come in and it's still not going to affect anything. It's not going to change the movements in the market. It's just, it's interesting that way, compared to if 10 million people wanted to open up a drugstore on the corner or compete for Starbucks, coffee, it's going to screw up everything. Here, it's just the more people that come in, the more money that flows in, the more the patterns actually happen. It's like, and that's
well, and it's interesting. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
each stock has its own personality. Each whether that be from the market participants. So as you mentioned, if you have 10 million people come into a stock or whatever, just 10 million shares, a lot of shares going into a stock. If there's enough things in the market become self-fulfilling. If there's enough people watching a specific pattern on a stock, maybe one stock, there's a ton of people who follow technical analysis, but then there's another stock where it's more based on the movements of the market or based on fundamentals. And so it's cool to be able to look at these patterns and be able to say, okay, I only stick to 5 or 10 stocks because I want to know those stocks like a person, and I want to know the nuances of how it moves, what moves it, kind of like knowing a person, what gets on their nerves, what doesn't, that type of thing. And so it's really cool to be able to see how a stock can really have its own personality, and technical analysis can kind of capture when those changes in the quote unquote mood are occurring.
It's interesting you said that, because that is the thing that stops me now from taking myself to the next level. And being a coach, I'm able to analyze myself every single day, is that I feel like I'm at a giant, my favorite place to meet women was always Whole Foods, right? So I feel like I'm at the biggest Whole Foods in the entire world. There are thousands of women shopping and I can't make a decision, right? Yet I see my opening. I see her look in her eyes or her hesitation, and I'm attracted by something else. And as I get further and further in, I used to have a watch list of 30. Well, I'd see the moves, but you get hypnotized by it. You can't make the move because you're like, I know that's the move, but it's like hypnotic, because it's painting, green and red candles. So now, luckily, today I'm at 12. I got 4 on a big screen, 1 on another, and 2 on another. It's still a little too much having 7 up, but at least I am down to like that 4 that I should have, right? Because the guy that I learned from in the chat room that I'm in, man, he just obsesses about the SPY for like an hour and just nails that like 4 or 5 times. He knows it, and he basically pretty much ignores everything else in that moment, and once I can get to that point, because I hate to miss things, because I'm such a, it's like you have to reprogram your brain, and I'm such a liver, it's like, oh man, let me do this, I'm a New Yorker, man. It's like I want to walk 100 blocks and see everything, and that I'm a visual stimulated retard, so it's okay, because I'm sitting here watching the 4 and I'm looking at the entries I didn't take, and when you stare at it, the charts are so much cleaner when you only have 4 up there. The minute your eye goes to something else. So let's go to the software, okay? So I think everybody can see it right now. You can see my screen, right?
I can, yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay, first off, there's a lot of things that I love about it that I'm learning, and I think I'll have you explain it. But there's one thing. Is there any way to put 4 separate stocks up in the boxes?
Not yet, but that is something that is definitely on the roadmap.
Okay.
So you can put in 4 separate charts kind of with the same ticker with different multiple time frames, but you can't compare symbols at the moment. But that is definitely something on the roadmap.
Okay, good. So that's coming. So that's important, because that's something that once I have that, then you can get my center box, because this is what I love. So let's go through. For those of you that have never ever seen a stock chart before, or you're interested in a stock chart, this might look like a lot of mess to you, but to me it looks like a nice little uptrend followed by a nice little downtrend. This is like the perfect day. This is a great day, because you're going to get 2 trends in this day. You're getting the uptrend in the morning, and now you're getting the reversal for the afternoon, which is really nice, because the market is in a downtrend anyway. You just had that little pop. So let's go through. I think Citibank had a clean chart. Hold on. Like a really, there we go. Okay. So let's go to Citibank, right? And kind of go through what each thing is, starting with this wonderful little circle. Okay. So this circle is what, Jake? Tell them what the circle is and what the circle does.
All right, so to kind of back up a little before that, so the circle is essentially where the price action on the 1 minute time frame, because you have the 1 minute, each candle right here represents 1 minute of price action. So when the price action broke through the 5 minute trend line, which is the dashed line that the yellow dashed line that we're seeing it break through right there, that tells us that there's a breakthrough of this line. So whether that be because there's buyers coming in, whether that be because there's a short squeeze, obviously that's all buyers, but different types of buyers. And so it tells you when these technical levels have kind of broken through. And we do that with a wide range of things, anywhere from trend line breaks to indicator breaks. So if you want to watch the simple moving average on the weekly candle, while you're looking at the daily chart, you can do that. And in this case, we're looking at the 1 minute time frame with the candles, and we're kind of comparing that against the 5 minute time frames, indicators, and trend lines. So we're kind of seeing how short-term prices with long-term.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want you to just add that's really important is that the one you're getting, and this is what I love, you're getting the 1 minute little pinpoint entries, but you're getting the support and you're looking at the support and the resistance. The more important trend line is the 5 minutes, because so that's why it's such a key. So people go, well, why did it bounce off of that? Well, that's a 5 minute trend line. I mean, that is far more important than the 1 minute trend line. As you can see, it broke right through that 1 minute trend line up there and didn't even almost ignored it, And here it was with the 5 minute, and it tested the 5 minute again, and it was showing you that it was going up. So I love that. That to me is I've been dissecting that all week, and I think it's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a big feature, being able to overlay different time frames on a single chart. Makes things more efficient, makes things kind of, all in one area, so you can kind of trace how everything's going. And we're actually seeing the 1 minute kind of try to break through that 1 minute time frame right now. We'll see if it can do it, but it's really, our basis is short-term price action is dictated by longer-term trends and indicators. So we can see here, a lot of the time, the shorter-term price action is really finding that hard support or hard resistance at the longer-term time frames. And you can do this with, the daily versus the weekly. For somebody who's kind of a day trader, you're going to want to use the lower time frame to see these fractal patterns in kind of a smaller time frame. But these patterns, exactly the same kind of thing, occur on longer term trends as well. So instead, if you want to swing trade a couple days, 2 to 3 days, or you want to go longer term, you can use these different time frames the same way.
Yeah, and this is what I love is that, when you watch it and you see it right here, you got a trend line going down, and you have a big green candle followed by a red candle, followed by a green candle, followed by a red. You're seeing the fact that it's touching 1, 2, 3, almost 4, I think 1, 2, 3 times. And then all of a sudden it's not touching anymore, which is important. And then you look, and here's a perfect right here. I mean, you could either do it 2 ways. You see this clearing right, this little pivot right down here, or you can enter right up around here. But either way, you've got a very minimal amount of risk, which is what I love. If you want to scalp, you're talking, and it's also at a whole number too, which is really nice. So, the fact is that it's testing a whole number and it's not punching through that whole number, which is really, if you've, as I've watched the market for a year, it's either popping through this thing or it's not. So you've got minimal amount of risk. I mean, you literally can take the high of these, 0.2, and you can enter anywhere in here, and you got yourself 5 to 6 cents of risk. It's either going to go and do it. And the fact is, you've got a trend line going down, and you got a trend line up here, and it's not breaking it. And then look at this great short, and you're really validated here by this green bar right here that's ignored. So that's what I love about, the software. take it down here, this is all noise, you know, but here is a reversal coming, right? So look
Yep.
at, you know, once again, you've got this trend line going up and this trend line going up. So you see the power, and this is what I like, you see the power in that, you know, where it's kind of choppy right now, but, you know, it gives you the opportunity to get the moves, even if it's a smaller move in here. You know, you get a little scalp going in here. If you really want to scalp, you got another one right here. So this is a really interesting software that you guys put together because it helps people. You don't want to jump in at every circle, you know.
Yep.
I'm sure if you did it, there would be a good back testing, right? If you did 10 shares, jumped in at every single circle to see whether, you know, what you were at the end of the day, right? I mean, I'm sure that would be a fun experiment to do, but you could see markets that are trending and markets that are not trending, and you can see the way things are moving. And this is what I like, how clear it starts to look once you stare at it. And it also tell them the benefits of having the trend lines for targets and to stay in a trade longer.
Yep. So, you know, with the alert system, we also have on trend lines and indicators. So, for example, if we really wanted to monitor this price action right now, possibly touching the red trend line above, I'm not sure if you've messed with the alerts, but you can just right click it, and you can actually be alerted anytime that the price action gets within that area. So if you right click the red line.
I'm trying. Sometimes on the Mac, it's if I'm recording something, it doesn't. There we go. Trend line's been locked as a drawing.
Oh, I think you double clicked. But yeah, you can do any line. So for example, if you know that red line, if you, yeah, the Mac may be weird, but you can create these alerts on each trend line or indicator and give like, it's a margin of error between the indicator or the trend line. So, you know, sometimes the price just isn't going to go exactly to the trend line. And that's why we give this kind of sensitivity or margin of error that you can use to kind of allow you to capture some of those moves that may not be kind of hitting the exact precise areas. So, for example, this is kind of cool. We can see how the price action's getting beaten down after testing this area now for the 4th time. And so, you know, without us having to draw anything, the system's already kind of capturing these levels that are important. And so that's something that's important when you're going through 30 different charts. You don't have time to draw 30 different trend lines on 10 different time frames. And so that's what the system does, is really automates that whole thing. And you know, with any of these lines, you can easily delete them. So for example, if this line is, or if some of these lines are too busy for you, you can easily delete these too. Some people like a little bit of a cleaner chart. You can go to, for example, if you, I don't know if your right click is working, but you can right click on a specific kind of color trend line, and you can delete all of those. So all of these trend lines are based on formulas. So they're based on hard math, and they're here to really keep your technical analysis consistent and help you remove bias that you may have when you're drawing your chart. It's easy to draw a chart when you're all in a stock, and it's easy to draw it bullish if you think the stock's going to go up and you need it to go up for you to make money. So this kind of takes away that emotional side of it, keeps the math consistent. Any chart that you pull up is going to follow the same rules and the same formulas on each trend line. So for example, if you went to JP Morgan, these trend lines are going to use the same conditions that we did in this time frame and this chart, but just used with that price action. So you know, the price action's different, so obviously the trend lines are going to look different, but they follow the same rules when they're being drawn. And so that keeps things consistent across whatever chart you're looking at.
Yeah, and you also get to see choppiness too. You know, you get to see right here, this is like, all right, this is what's great, is that a lot of people don't like these lines, but in reality, it's like you don't want to trade that stock until it hits above that gray line or that gray and greenish line, because you're in right here, you're in consolidation. You know, you're in a good, we're about 35 minutes of consolidation right now in this area. And a lot of the times you won't see that without the lines. You'll see the candles, you'll see the moving averages, but you don't know what's kind of stopping it. You don't know where the pivots are or anything else. I mean, you have to do it all manually, so what's great is when it's drawn in for you, you could have gone long here at 58 and your stop is 49. You can have 9 cents of risk right here to see whether or not JP Morgan breaks out of that consolidation or not. And the fact of the matter is it broke out a little bit. You would have made 1-to-1 on that. So if you would have scalped it, you would have been okay. But it's the next level of choppy now. It's like, but the thing is, it keeps you out of that choppiness, because now you've got a range. Now you have a range from 72 down to 48. So now you know what your range is. Now you know where you're at. And a lot of people, as you know, they'll play these little ranges. They'll sit there and play that little range. But this is where a lot of traders, and I know I've had these issues. Oh man, I'll try to trade that, and it's terrible. I mean,
especially if you're in short-term options or something where the choppiness doesn't help with your trade. So and it's cool to see how short-term price action is really kind of moved, and not moved, but is really kind of I guess the word is is dictated by these trend lines and indicators. And so you can see now, for example, I'm not sure what this white line is on the chart, the dotted line, but see how the price action is really kind of
20
gravitated right back down to this area. Which one is that?
It's the 5-minute 20.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And so the price, you can see even through this whole choppy period, the price action really goes back and forth between that lower support and right back up to that moving average, and then just does the same thing over and over again.
Well, yeah, you got a flat and wavy 20, man. You go above and you go below, and you go above and you below, because you're in a trendless market. I mean, that's another lesson, another day. I mean, here's your trend. There's the 8. There's your little bit of trend, and there's your down. And there's your down. There's your downtrend right here. But it's the rest of the time it's just been kind of flat and wavy, which is interesting. Let's go to another one. Let's go to EA. It's like the same thing.
Yep.
But taking people back to this, I mean, this is where, like, see how it's right here, as it goes up and then it tests support, and it, once again, that's when it starts to get its move, when it tested support. So, I mean, that's people got to learn all that, right? But at least it's showing you, which I think is really great. It's like it's showing you the whole picture, and I know a lot of people like clean charts. To me, this is actually clean, because I have another chart that doesn't have as much on it, just to look, and then I use this as like confirmation. I want to know exactly where that stock is, where it can move to, where support and resistance is, and then I look at my clean chart, right? And I think to myself, all right, I got an opportunity here to go get in and make a little bit of money and know what my risk is, because I think that's the biggest thing. As you know, most people don't really know what their risk is. They just get in. And that was my mistake in the beginning. I'm just going to get in, and I now know my risk. I mean, if it's 4 or 5 cents and it hits it, I'm out, man. It's okay. I'll take another entry. It's fine. So I like the fact that, when you look at this, once again, it tested the 20, came back down to the trend line, right? Came back up, and then finally when it crossed it, that's when you got to move. So you give them an opportunity to have this, and then look how cool that was. It hit its target, which is really interesting. There's your target. Your target is that trend line going down. Hit the target, right? Came back, tested it one more time, and then boom, you give another entry right here because it finally broke up to it. 1, 2, third time's a charm, and then went right through it. I mean, it's really, when you break it down, Jake, it's really super cool to like look at.
No, and it's cool to just see how prices, especially in these days, prices most of the time kind of being the price is made by these computers who have these algorithms, who have all these things that they're looking at. And, as we were talking about before, a lot of these levels become self-fulfilling based on, whoever's really using the price action or looking at the price action. So it's no different if you went to go play poker at a poker table. You got to look at who's got all the money. How is he making the bluffs? How is he or she, doing all this? And then you can pick up on the nuances and the bluffs, if you will, and you can take advantage of it. So especially now when all of this price action is really moved by computers and high frequency trading, it almost becomes more predictable because they're using certain algorithms and models to make the same kind of trades over and over. Obviously, there's machine learning in there and they change, but for the most part, they will look at the same level on different stocks, and that's how you can kind of learn how the stock is moving and what the personality is.
It's interesting too, because a bot is looking at this, and a bot is looking at, when it breaks that trend line and goes above, it's, we're not moving this. And this is something, an institution moved that price, that amount. I mean, the amount here is 12 to 63. Institution moved that money. We as individual traders can just jump right on for the ride, because it's just almost like a self-fulfilling, almost like it's like it was programmed to buy here and sell there. Because if you look at it, look how quickly that moved up. And then this is 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. That's 5 minutes you're in that trade. And then look how fast it made it down all the way, right?
Yep. You're trading $50 million or a $20 million trade. You don't really need to make that many cents off the trade to make a little chunk of money. So, and that's what they do, and that's how they essentially make the market.
Okay, so we might have a little short opportunity here.
Z.
You ever trade Zillow?
No, I haven't, honestly.
Okay.
I have not.
Let me tell you about Zillow, all right? I found Zillow about 6 months ago. I never really I'm watching it every day now for 2 weeks. This is what Zillow does 4 out of 5 days. It's hard to borrow. I can borrow it on TD. I can't borrow it on my other one, right? But Zillow makes stupid moves. It's got to be all manipulated somehow, right? Because it makes no sense, but it will make the cleanest move up, right? It will test support. It will make another move up, right? And as you see, it's like kind of doing that. And then all of a sudden, it will hit like some number, right? And then it will do this. And it will just take you all the way down, sometimes all the way down to there.
Yep.
And it's really interesting. It's trending better today than it's trended in a while. I think it's up $1 today, right? So this is a trend day for Zillow. So it's not as big of a short, but you got to look at it and you got to do some back testing on it. So Zillow's a very funny, weird stock. And it's got, if you look at some of the bars, in there's like nothing on that bar, right? It's so nobody traded during that time. It's got gaps in it, but you can get fill. But this is what Zillow does all the time. This is how Zillow kind of trades and Zillow plays. But let's go to the SPY or Apple, because they play the trends really well. Let's see if Apple's trending really well. All right, there you go.
It's a nice little wedge it's in right now.
Yeah, but this is Apple. Apple's got such a cool, when you watch Apple, look at this. You could literally take it right down. Right there. It just sits. It does this wedge almost every single day. I've been watching. So does the SPY. No, SPY's not as clean today as Apple.
It's a little wedge, though.
It's a little wedge coming.
It almost looked like there was an inverse head and shoulders there, and it kind of broke down. So, we'll have to see if it breaks down through this trend line right here or holds.
Oh yeah, no. If this breaks down, we got a lot of room underneath.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to see.
Because it's below the 8, it's below the 20, it's below the 8, it's below the 20. There's not much holding it up right now.
Yeah, and it's Friday. People like to take their beer money out of the markets for for the weekend. So, I wouldn't be shocked if there's a little bit of a sell-off into the end of the day. But, it is the market. Anything's possible. So just my thoughts.
All right, let's watch the SPY for a minute and see what happens. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it either A, get a little reverse. I mean, but the reversal is short. I mean, look at it's in such a narrow range right now.
Yep. And got another kind of spring load there. And the cool thing is you can literally see it going back and forth between that yellow line and the gray line. And so that's, your shorter term, your 1 minute candle trend line, and then your 5 minute candle trend line, which is the gray one, the dashed one. So, you can kind of see, and then you can see how other moving averages and other lines are kind of interacting with that area too. And it kind of is a confluence of different indicators, which creates even more resistance or support.
Yeah, there's the 20. There's the 20 and the 8 sitting right there at the line too.
What's the light blue dotted one you got up there?
That's
dashed.
That's the 8.
Okay.
Yep, the 8 EMA and the 20. So look at that. So you got the 8 on the 5, the 20 on the 1. And you have, I mean, which is really, if you look at the greatness of it, and really what's great is that if we can clear this 8 right here, right, and clear this 20, we got a little bit of room. We got 20 cents of room to the 20, because as we all know, stocks don't like to be away from their 20 that long. So,
Bollinger Bands, yeah.
Yeah.
So
right.
Kind of go back to the kind of the mean area.
Yeah, so we're waiting actually for either to do this is a good one to watch, because this is either going to be a breakdown, or it's going to find its way back to the mean. It's going to find its way back to it hasn't been near the 20 in a while. It kind of got near the 20, over here, but got rejected by the 50.
Starting to break down a little bit.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
There we go. So if somebody wanted to enter using the trend lines, right? Because I know people are going to be like, wow, that's great, but, where do you enter, right? I wouldn't enter until I get a candle below it, me, I'm not going to do that, because this is just a poke through right now. So you're going to get chopped out on a poke through. So I'm going to wait. The benefits of the 1 minute is I'm going to wait till I get this. Here we go.
Yep. Uh-oh.
We can either wait for a close, or we can just kind of wing it right now, and just have, and this is like, where, I mean,
and the crazy thing is you've got a lot of different people watching this line. And so that's what becomes self-fulfilling is everyone sees the close below that line and everyone's like, oh, is it time to short? And it just, enough people do it and it makes the market. Oh, and there's your drop.
There's your drop. So if we had to enter, and there's two ways to enter here, once this candle starts forming, you can cheat it, right? And your stop can be right here. So our stop would have been, what is that, a high of 98, okay? And we would have entered somewhere in the 80s, 83, 82, 81, and right now you got a stop of 98 there. So you don't have to wait for that closed bar to come. Now, if you want to wait for the closed bar, you got a shorter, now you have 87 by 79, so you got a little bit less risk, but you don't have the entry that gave you the head start. And sure enough, it's doing what we thought it would do, right?
Breaking down. Yep, and that's the power of the trend line. Just, it's cool to see real time, just that area being respected, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're going to drop it. So it's really cool to see, how these technical levels can really have a big impact on how price action moves.
Yeah, it's great that we got to see this, Jake, in action, man. We got to see them test the line. We got to see them test it 3 times. I mean, I was taught by one of my mentors. He says, 2 to 3 times, man. The 4th time it knocks.
I think 3rd time's a charm works in a lot of different things in life. And I think it works for, trend lines as well. If you got a lot of consolidation, something's going to break, especially after, like you said, 3 times, and generally something's going to break. And, kind of the same thing. We've got 3 candles here. Is it going to kind of continue down, or is there going to be – and what's cool is sometimes the price will reverse back up to the previous support, and then it will act as resistance, right? So, it will kind of go back and possibly test that area, or it just kind of gets completely destroyed. It depends on really how much selling pressure there is, but it's very common to see a price break down and then retest the trend line above and kind of fake people out, and then you'll have another confirmation.
Which is nice. And then you see, look at the trend line. Now the trend line became a 5-minute one.
Well, and two, the cool thing is when you just refreshed the screen, it updated the chart and kind of showed us the most relevant trend lines on the chart now. So that's the cool thing. You can't see it that well on this chart, but there is a vertical line there with dots. And so that area shows you the last time that the system updated the analysis. So when you recently updated it, it changed the trend lines because we now had new information to go off of. And
Which
so
is,
it doesn't look like we're going to be going back up anytime soon. A little break there on the 5-minute trend line as well.
I know, but that became the 5-minute trend line, which is super cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Which gives you the opportunity to sit here. I'm just waiting for it to flush right now. It's like, come on, flush, right? Which gives you opportunity to know that you now have a stronger trend line heading down. And if it tests it, and then if it tests it if it tests it again and then goes back down, we could be looking at, the rest of the day, the market just heading back, heading downwards.
Yeah. I don't. That's the one thing too is, following your rules in trading is such a big thing. So, for example, I was thinking the market was going to continue up this week because so many people were bearish. If there's enough people that are on one side of the market's going to go the opposite way, just because it's kind of like there's so many people on one side. It kind of creates this pressure for the market to go the other way, and so luckily I was able to just stick to the plan. And once the MACD crossed on the daily, once some of these indicators, I was like, there's no way I can hold this logically. I have to follow my plan. And so I'm just kind of on the sidelines right now, hoping, to get some sales purchases in the next week or two. But for now, it looks like the market's really trying to test some new lows.
It really is. And here's some good confirmation too. I mean, look at that. There's, what I do, there's my GBI. It's
Were you
like,
able to short that?
I didn't, because we're talking, but like, to me, here's the way that I kind of play. I play it, right? So if I miss this because I was watching, I'm going to wait for my first green bar that's ignored in the lower third, right? So this is a perfect GBI. It's in the lower third, it's totally taken out, and here's, at 68, I could have literally been in all the way down to 53. So no, I didn't take it, but to me, that's more confirmation. That to me, this is double. I've got as much confirmation as I possibly need. So if you hesitate the first time, you hesitated here, okay? That's okay if you hesitated here. Then we had a trend line replacement. We had a 1 minute go to a 5-minute trend line, right? Going down. There it is, another validation, and there's your green bar ignored. You just had 3 validations. So if you didn't get in that trade after the third time, you might as well go look at something else, because at this point, you don't want to be in there because it could reverse. It may go down further. It may hit the whole number. It may go down to 272. You don't know. But at this point, you're chasing it down, so you leave it the way it is. And that's why this is such a great example, Jake, for people to look at, because it really shows you the complete incredible picture. I mean, we can look on the 15 and see what pivot, see what support and resistance is underneath there. I mean, we can change it. And let's take a look. Let's go to the 15. Let's go 5 versus 15 and see, or 30. All right, so we got a pivot down here. So that's the reason why we're bouncing right now.
Go to the 15 on the secondary time frame. Something seems weird on that.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know why the moving averages look like that. That's odd. Well, either way, yeah, it may be due to what scale you're in or something, but that's interesting how it's kind of making that. But either way, if you went to, let's say, and can we do a bigger example, maybe the daily candle, just to show how it
Sure.
will capture even, the longer term stuff too? Because, um, you know, uh, some people like to day trade, some people like to swing. I personally, and it's cool to watch this because I never watch the market in 1 minute time frames, just because I'm not trading on that short of a time frame. But it's cool to see that the same exact things in the short term are happening in the long term as well.
And it's cool, isn't it? Like kind of like, being in my world, right? So now you see like,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. It's really fun too is being able, now I know why the moderators in stock rooms make the money. Because if I was moderating this trade, I would have taken this trade because I'm
Yep.
clearly announcing the trade and I'm clearly seeing it and I'm hearing my voice give myself 3 validations for it and getting in on it, which is really interesting. Now you know why they make the money, because they're talking to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and they're talking to other people. So this was an interesting lesson for me too as well, because I didn't take the trade, and this is the type of trade that I see. I see these all the time. I'm good at. I get TA. It's like it took me a long time, right? But I
Yep.
see this trade, and I don't take it. And here it is. Let's see. This is the big thing right here. If it can crack 47, then
Mm-hmm.
then we're potentially in a free fall. There is nothing.
Yep.
There's absolutely nothing stopping it. So let's go to. You want to go hourly versus daily?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Oh, geez. We really are. And look at that. I mean, we literally, if we break 47,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
hold on. Now I'm interested. If we break 40, if we break 47, this could get really ugly.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And one thing I just want to mention that's kind of cool is any lines that you would want to remove, you can just click on the where your mouse is. Those little different blocks are just telling you if the the time frame is on or not. So if you clicked, let's say, the simple moving average 50 on the 1 hour, if you click that to the gray area, it will just turn it off and it will take it off the chart. So that's kind of the menu that you can kind of make all your different decisions and what you want to add, what you don't want to add to the chart.
Boy, the market's a mess right now, man. It's below. Look at that. It's below the 200. I mean, there's a lot. That little rally we had is screeching to a halt.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely, especially as it. What is that red? Is that the 200?
Yeah, that's the 200.
200 broke.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely, and that's the thing. Kind of going back to the self fulfilling. The more people looking at the 200-day moving at or the 200-hour moving average breaking, that increases selling. Selling outpaces supply, outpaces demand, and that's where you get your price move down. It's and that's I studied economics in college, so I love being able to use economics and see how that part of that is really moving the price. It's really at the end of the day supply and demand, and so that's really cool to see as well.
Well, what's cool too is that we're seeing this major. Let's see, we're watching, which is really great. We found the chart that has, you know, an apps. It's testing some serious support right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're watching it. You're seeing that if this thing breaks, you're seeing like you're seeing a big, you're seeing a nice big break. So we definitely pick something that's interesting. And also, what I love is that when you go to multiple time frames, and this is something that it took me a while to learn this, Jake, and because I would always just do the 1 minute chart, and then I'd be like, what the hell? How come I got screech out? Now, when you go to multiple time frames, which is really great, you see why that short stopped. You actually have a target. Your target is 47, and the fact is, it ended. The low was right there. If you look at it, it was 49. So
Mm-hmm.
you literally had a target for this. A lot of the times you look at the 2 or the 5 or the 1, and you won't know at all what is going on underneath you, and you have no target. And the fact is, if you don't have a stop loss and don't have some type of target, you're trading blindly,
Yep.
because
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to, if you got 10 cents of risk, great. But if it's only going to give you 1-to-1, if it's only giving you 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ahead of time, then you can either decide to do it or not. This one here certainly gave us a little more. I think it gave us 3-to-1 on it. But you have to know that you have major resistance or major support above and below you, because that's the only way to do it. And this is why your software is so good, because it gives you a ridiculously clear picture, of so many things.
So one thing that's cool is if we went and refreshed the chart now, we'll kind of see how the trend lines are likely going to change.
How do you refresh?
See at the bottom, there's that vertical line in the middle of the chart, right in the middle. You just refresh and lock, and the trend lines are going to be updated based on the new data that's now in the system. So now these are the new kind of trend lines that show up, because that's what's based on the most relevant data right now.
Boy, the SPY is worth looking at. We're going to have a little inside bar forming on the hourly. Look at that little tiny bar.
Yep. Hey, it's we're definitely making new lows for the day, so that's interesting to see. It could just be some shorts covering, or could be some buyers coming in, because we're right at the bottom of that channel, right there too. So there's a lot of different ways it can go.
Well, that's how we look. Then you want to know, well, is it going to bounce, right? It's going to bounce before it goes back down again. It's not going to flush all the way down. Stocks just don't go do that unless they're that stock. What is that stock that went up $50 yesterday?
Oh, BPTH.
Yeah, BPTH. Unless you're BPTH, I mean, that thing was like ridiculous. Or Tilray. Remember when Tilray went to like,
yep.
What did it go to, like 200 or 300, some ridiculous price, and then literally went down $80 in about 5 minutes?
Yep.
So
yeah.
If we look, we go back to this, and we're going to get the bounce, because now and this is great, now you know where your support and resistance is and the trend lines are. So this bounce is weak right now, but you can play that bounce. There are people that will sit there and be like, we are heading into a ridiculous pivot on the daily. We're going to play that bounce, right? Because it's not going to crash, especially on the daily chart, in the hourly chart. It's not going to crash through as hard as it would on the 1 minute or the 5 minute, So this is why, now you can see, which is really a beautiful thing. You can see why this bounce now. You can see this 20-cent bounce we're having and the reasons behind it. And that, I think, is the power of what you guys have put out there. It's the power of the software, and it's the power of you not having to draw these lines and have them extend out on every chart, because there's no way in the world that you have daily lines. If you're playing the 5-minute chart, you do not have daily lines drawn in. You're drawing your lines on you're drawing lines on the 5, but you want to see what's going on trend-wise on the higher time frames. And if it's being done for you, it takes you out of the equation. And I've learned that the more I take me out of the equation, the better it is, right?
I think a lot of people would agree. I'm the same way. Emotion gets in the way of trading decisions a lot of the time. And, if you deviate from your plan, it's usually because of some emotional, thing, or you may just be having a bad day, and it may, rub off on your trading. Yeah, I've had that before. I'm just having a bad day, and all of a sudden I start making some dumb trades because it's just been a bad day. And so emotions really tie into trading big time.
Oh, no, they totally do. And that's what's so great about this. And I'm glad you guys put this together. And I'm also glad I found you, because I have got a lot of different charts up, and I'm starting to, I spent a couple of weeks watching it before I start trusting it and start seeing it. And this is just once again, you want to play, as it's probabilities. We're playing a probability. The probability is it might test that number all day long today. And then you'll see some guru on YouTube tonight go, "Oh, the SPY is at, is at an hourly pivot, or, in a daily pivot," right? And, and it's free reign down below if it cracks it, you're going to watch it and you're going to think to yourself, man, I saw that too, so
Yep.
you could be the same talking head, and they're no different than you are. They just happen to either A, have the software, B, they've been doing it forever and they're drawing the lines in. And here this is like having 30 years of experience sitting right in front of you. You don't have to worry about it because the computer is doing the hard work for you. Now you just need to interpret it, and that you can learn. Anybody can learn to interpret technical analysis. But, this is...
cool thing too, on top of that is, let's say that you want to tweak the system and how it looks at charts. You can change the settings, and what we really want to do is automate the way you look at trend lines. And so that's the cool thing too, is if, let's say that maybe you don't agree with the lines on this chart, you can go in and change the settings and have the system look for something else that's automated with a slightly different input. And it will change really the way the system looks at it based on, base points is what we call it. So, there's a lot of flexibility with the system as well. We want to give the user the ability to really automate their style rather than us just providing a certain set of trend lines. It's about the customization part of this as well, where, we're not saying we have the best lines, but we want to make you be consistent when drawing your lines through our automated system.
Right, and the automated system is just such a brilliant way to get people, once again, out of their heads. If you can get out of your head when you're trading, you have a chance of success. If you're in your head, you are not going to be able to succeed at all. It's just, you want to be able to, once again, be able to be free in your thought process, free in your trading. And it's really just it's pretty cool, man, to to sit here and watch it, because now you think to yourself, is it going to hit this target? Is it going to hit the next target?
Yep. Well, the cool thing is too, you got the 8 EMA, or what is it, the 8 SMA crossing the 20 SMA right now. So it'll be interesting to see if the price action kind of is rejected at that next yellow resistance line above. Because that's been touched 1, 2, 3. Almost, this will be the 4th time we've touched that. So, a nice example of what you said. Price isn't always going to go straight down. It's got to kind of go in waves. And so that's, I think, what we're kind of seeing right now. We'll have to see if it holds, this resistance line, or if there's a breakout. But based on the lines you have above, there's a lot of different resistance areas the price would have to break through.
There is, and it looks like, and it's funny because it looks like it wants to break down again now.
Yeah, yep. You got that little bounce. People covered their short a little bit, and if it breaks down through that previous 272.49 or so, that would be an area to watch.
Let's outline it. There it is right there, 272. Yeah, 272.49. I mean, if that thing breaks, or really, let's get the real number. Let's go to, once again, this confirms it, right? Let's go to the hourly versus the daily, right? And then let's find the number. I think you're right on. I think it's right there. It's 272.49. So you want it to you want it to poke through. You don't want to buy the poke through. You want to buy the first close bar underneath it to give you a greater chance of success. To play more of a probability, but that's the number to watch. So if you're trading, if anybody was, watching this and it was live, you can really sit here and watch the SPY the rest of the day and see if you can catch a really good flush down, because
it's 3 hours left in the market, so it's possible.
Oh yeah, it's totally possible. So anything else you want to add? Because I think we've covered a lot. I think we've given people a really good lesson. Anything else you want to go over and show?
So just a couple things. So we can automate more than just trend lines. We can automate Fibonacci levels. Some people don't necessarily use those, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, where a certain stock, if there's enough people watching the Fibonacci level on a certain stock, that area will become self-fulfilling. So it's interesting to see how You can use those levels as well. You can overlay different Fibonacci levels on multiple time frames too. So for example, if you wanted to see the 5-minute Fibonacci level, you can see that with the 1-minute price action.
Okay, so show me how to overlay it.
So you're actually already there. If you just go down to Fibs on the top left menu there, you can see, right below SPY. It's already turned on. So if you go down a little bit to the left, you'll see Fibs, and you can turn it on there, and it will automatically capture the Fibonacci level for you. You don't have to do anything. So you can also overlay the 5-minute Fibonacci levels on the 1-minute time frame as well. And so you can really get pretty dynamic with the entire process. Now, obviously, the fib levels may be a little off here because there's some price action. And look here, we're moving right up to that line that we talked about. Will it break through? We'll have to see. Man, that's a big candle, though.
Wow, right at the 30. See, I've never studied Fibonacci's. So
but it's right at the 0.32 or 0.382 level.
So now we can get ready to go long.
Oh, kind of having some trouble breaking through that area now.
Boy, this is all self-fulfilling prophecies when you really break all this stuff in there.
Yep.
It's nuts. It went from the 0 to the 0.3. It literally did a 1/3 retracement.
Yep. Now you got the breakout. Now you got trying to break out. It could be a false breakout, but it's cool to see how now the price action is literally finding resistance right at this line that you didn't have to draw. It was automatically drawn. And the cool thing too is if we waited 5 minutes and refreshed the analysis again, it's going to give us the new most relevant trend lines to watch without having to about it at all. Woo, that's a break. That's a breakout.
Well, because it tested a major pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to watch it test a major pivot point. So everybody who's thinks oh man, why didn't it go down on that pivot? No, it's got to test that pivot first. It's gonna test it again. It's probably tested 3 times before it finally breaks. So there's a really cool range on the SPY right now. And
the cool thing too is you see how this blue line, this blue dotted dashed line was previously support on the left side of the chart, and now it's the area that price is having trouble breaking through. So this is another example how, previous demand or supply levels can be the opposite. Sorry, my dog is going crazy.
No, it's okay. And it's right at the 0.5 Fibonacci too, which is not exactly which is really a weird, it's like a really weird coincidence. Or is it a coincidence?
I don't think so. And that's the thing. A lot of people say, oh, that's voodoo. Oh, yeah, but it's not. If enough people use these levels, they become self-fulfilling in their own right. Because if enough people are looking at that, it makes the market. And so the market is in the short term moved by those price levels. And so, the next level we'll watch is the 61.8% fib level. And it's cool to just see how we're essentially stair-stepping through those levels.
And it's amazing. It's amazing too, Jake. It's stopping at every single level. It stopped at the 0.38. It stopped at the 0.5. It stopped at the 0.61. I mean, this is for any of you that think to yourself like, man, I can't make money on the stock market. Bullshit. You can. It's like you're watching. I mean, if it gets to the 1, you watch 100% retracement. So here you have. And if you think about it, you have an absolute, here's your reversal candle right here. I mean, there it is right there. There's your reversal candle sitting right there. It hit it. It hit the 0 line, right? The Fibonacci 0 line. It hit it down. It went up, right?
The cool thing is too, let's say that and I think you mentioned you had some problem with the right clicking right now, but you can actually create alerts on each one of these Fibonacci levels. So you'll be alerted when the price action hits whatever Fibonacci level you're watching. And so you don't even have to watch the chart. The chart will do the watching for you, and it will alert you when you're at the specific point on the chart that you want to get back to looking at the chart, maybe make a trade. And so same thing though. See how we really rejected right at the 61.8% level. It's just it's very interesting to see how these levels become self-fulfilling.
Well, not only that, you're finally, and this is something that's interesting. It's like, once again, taking you out of the equation, and not making fun of people. But I've always said, take you out of the equation, you'll be successful, right? That's why if you want to lose weight, go to a nutritionist, go to a coach, right? Go to a trainer. Takes you out of the equation. This is, if you had to do your own Fibonacci levels, you can make a mistake. The same computer that a big hedge fund, you watch Billions ever?
I saw a couple episodes. I could never get into it. My episodes I watch are the market every day. I don't have that long of an attention span.
Okay.
But yes, I do know the show.
Okay, so there's a big hedge fund out there and a big bank and big this, and they are doing this. They're watching this. Their fib is drawn in. Their bot is programmed to sell, at 61.8. I mean, it's you're getting. I mean, that's a decent retracement. That's almost, almost 60% retracement from the bottom. I mean, that's a decent move when you're moving, $1 million. If
Yeah.
you just moved $1 million and you just went up 30 cents, that's enough for them. They're happy.
Oh yeah, I'll take that all day. And that's the thing. These high frequency computers, all these institutional programs just do the same thing over and over again. They're repeating the same pattern. They take their 10, 20 cents, or even sometimes less than that, and it's just the same thing over and over until they hit their goal for the day, or whatever the case may be, and someone else takes over. And it's just very interesting how the bigger money can really influence where the price is going. And it goes back to supply and demand, right? If all of a sudden if you start outpacing the supply because you've got a ton of demand that your order is, you can easily, if you're a big enough institution, you can move the market. And that's where some of these big spikes and these big dips come. Is it could just be one big guy making a big sell or a big buy.
Yep. I mean, it's amazing. It's just amazing to watch. I've never watched Fibonacci's, and I get it. I get why people use them. It is just, it's computerized, man. It's like watching, you're right. It's like watching, it's a video game unfolding in front of you. And
all my friends say that, oh, why don't you play video games? I'm like, I have my video game every day. It changes. And that's the cool thing, right? The market has the same patterns day in, day out, but they're slightly different. There's slightly different price action. Every day is a new day, but it's repeating something that's very similar each day. And so it's really exciting that even though you're expecting some of the same outcomes every day, it's slightly different price action, slightly different, whatever the case may be.
And here, talking like we said, here's my little green bar ignored, right? Here's a little and look at it. Here's the wick going up, trying to test that once again. When you break through resistance the first time, it doesn't mean it's going to hold. It's like, it doesn't mean it's going to hold. It poked above, and now it's doing exactly what it was doing before. So here it is, and let's see right now if it goes back and tests the 0.
Yeah, no, if we break down through that level, it's definitely going this time, I would say. But notice what's cool is this previous area that was resistance that we were just watching is now acting as support for this current candle. Yeah, and so, it's really interesting to see how these levels can quickly switch. And what's cool is too, this just happened. We just had a hammer form on the 1 minute candle.
Yep.
And our system caught it. So if you put your mouse over that H right there, see the H right next to the price action?
No, I know. Then the hammer's a reversal candle. So
Yep. So you can if you put it down a little lower, it will actually show hammer or whatever. If you put it right over the H, it will say hammer. And so the system will automatically pick up these candlestick formations as they form. And so that's something that's really cool as well. Especially if you're a candlestick trader. Some people really use candlesticks, some people don't. But in this case, notice how the hammer right on this previous level of resistance, which is now support, had a nice bounce. And now we're ripping after that. So kind of a cool example of the hammer versus price action afterwards.
And it's amazing. Look, not every hammer is going to work, I mean, when you look at it, right? But the fact of the matter is that this hammer was at a total retracement, and it didn't go back down to the zero, it went back, right around 23, which gives you an opportunity to tell you that it might pop and give you an opportunity to go up again. It might go back and test it. So that was cool, man. Anything else before we wrap it up?
I know
today?
you're not. Yeah, I think that's all I had. One other thing. I know you're not a big lower indicator guy, but let's say that you really wanted to get very complex in your alerts.
Okay, let's go for it.
If you go to alerts, you're in the indicators part. If you exit out of that.
But what indicator do you like on my battery's going to die on the Mac? Hold on. Because I'm recording this. Hold on, I got to kill one of my screens and plug myself back in. I want to make sure I kill. Okay, I'm going to kill that screen, even though that's my Mac Daddy screen. Oh, shoot. I think everybody got a blank. Okay, what do you see right now?
I see your screen.
You do? Okay, good.
I do. Yep.
It says my screen sharing is paused. Oh, that shouldn't have done that. I didn't I unplugged the wrong one. Oh, man.
Oops.
Oops. Hold on. How did I unplug the wrong? Oh, I did unplug the wrong one. Okay, at least we're still recording. So hold on, let me replug that and get that back. What is it doing? All right, there we go. We got it back, okay?
Cool. So if you go to alerts on the far right side in the little menu on the right side of the screen, you can kind of follow any alerts that you've created. So kind of the bottom right quadrant of, right there. And so, for example, you've created 2 alerts and they expired, and so you can just go back and kind of look at them. But if you wanted to create an actual new alert, go to the plus button right there next to alerts, and you can actually create different criteria. So, for example, it's essentially a decision tree that we've created, and the alert name is going to always come up as some random generated thing. So in this case, our alert name is Boring Einstein if we don't change it. But you have at the top just the credentials that you want to use, your description, how long it would go until it expires. And then you have the ability to create different criteria. So let's say that you wanted to create different conditions. You can go to either all of the following, or you can choose any of the following, and you can create these different conditions. So for example, I personally like to use the RSI. I like to use the MACD, and a mix of the price action versus the simple moving averages. So I can go in and create all of those different parameters in there, and then I'll be alerted when all of those conditions become true. So it's kind of like making your own algorithm. At the end of the day, an algorithm is just a set of rules pretty much that are followed. So you can kind of go in and create your own rules, and then whenever those rules have been, all of those conditions have become true, you'll get an alert, and that's when you'll know maybe it's time to get back to the computer or your phone, whatever you're trading on. So that's the only other thing I wanted to add. But I really appreciate you having me on and allowing me to show you and everyone else the product and how it works in real time. That was cool to see it kind of working as we were on the screen.
That was really cool. The problem is we just lost that last bit because I had to go plug in because my Mac battery was draining because I only have four things, so they missed the alert part. But if you want,
that's okay.
We're going to give a link. There'll be a link down below on your website. You have a number of demo videos and everything else. Mm-hmm. And you got a free trial. You got I think a 7-day trial, $7 trial or something, some cheap trial, right?
Free trial. We're back to a free trial now, and we're always extending that if you need more time.
Yeah, free trial, and I bought the year because it was well worth it, for what it was. It was funny. The first day I was just like, I don't like it. I'm not going to buy it. The second day I was like, let me think about this. The third day I was like, oh yeah, take my money, man. Here's my credit card. It's like I'm sold. I'm good.
Awesome.
Here's my money, because I never buy things for a year in advance because I never know how I'm going to feel,
Mhm.
But I looked at it, and then that was also when I talked to you guys, and you have so many more cool things that are coming. You got pivot points.
Oh yeah.
You got so much cool stuff. So this program, guys, I mean, I'm telling you, it's going to give you a distinct advantage. You still have to learn TA. You still have to understand and learn what the market is all about. And you definitely have to stay away from trading Netflix, you know, and some of those other stocks that are just heart attack stocks. But in reality, this is going to give you something that you need. It's the advantage, and it's also the same thing that these bots and these algorithms are looking at. So why not look at what they're looking at? You don't have to make this such a hard job for yourself. And I look forward to it, man. I mean, like I said, I'm very close to like turning the corner. I don't lose anymore. I pretty much break even every week now, which to me, once again, my mentor, my coach says to me, he goes, man, you're there. It's like, if you're not losing big anymore and you're breaking even, you're just not staying in your winning trades long enough. So
Mhm.
it's a cool feeling. I've only been at this since last July, live trading, and there's a learning curve. And if you put
Oh
the
yeah.
learning curve in, and the benefit is, you can also contact me as well too. I've got a great company that I've unlimited trading with. If so you can trade 4 shares or 5 shares and pretend and simulate, just add the 0 and the other 0 and make it pretend there's a lot of money at stake there. But there's no reason that you can't figure this out, not with all the great tools. So there's going to be links down below so you guys can check it out and enjoy, man. Jake, hang on for a second. Okay, I'm going to turn off the recording.
Oh
And
sure.
thank you for being a guest today. Hold on.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Hold on. I got to figure out where it disappeared to. People get to hear that part too. Like, yeah, there's David trying to do technology, man. That's a scary thing on the podcast. Hold on.
Oh man.
Where's that arrow, man? That arrow there we go. All right. Stop recording. All right, guys. See you next week on the Reality Check.